Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Well, I hadn't filmed in a couple of days. We're back from drifting, and it's been a couple of days. I've been working on a few things. Just, again, I get working. Before I know it, there's people stopping by. It's first of the month again. And just before I know it, the day is gone and I hadn't filmed anything. Okay, but a couple things have happened since we've seen you last. All right, so where do I start? I brought the S13 back to the shop. So I sanded down the roll cage and put on the first coat of primer. If you see any imperfections, it's not done. There's a few spots you can see it's not covered. I run out of paint in the back over there. It does have some runs. That stuff was super thin, and it sprayed like water. It was awful. The first can was, and so yeah, it was a pain. All right, now that's the first thing we're talking about. So we got this in here, the 13's in, working back on it again, and then I had a guy message me today interested in the BMW, the 325. Well, asked me if I'd be interested in an IS300. Well, yeah, we're always interested in IS300s. So I ended up with an IS300. It is an automatic, but I do have a spare transmission. This guy, we're going to work on some clutch parts probably tomorrow, but my IS300 is actually on the rollback. It's out running right now, but I traded the BMW for this guy, straight across. It's got new headlights, but it's not perfect. It's an automatic. The hood don't fit good. It don't latch good. I think it's just in the hinge, or not the hinge, but the latch. Interior is actually pretty nice. Interior looks good. The engine bay, it's stock, missing the top cover. It's just an IS300, stock IS300 with some janky looking wheels with the black interior. Okay, so that's went on since we've talked to you last. And so what we'll do, I'm about to go now. I'm done for the day. I'm going to get the 3-inch exhaust put on my IS300, And then we'll pick up tomorrow here, probably working on this clutch master cylinder and line, possibly slave cylinder too. We may end up changing it all. And then we'll give a once over on this little IS300 just to see what we ended up trading for, and just so you can see what we got. So, and at some point I'm gonna have to get the rest of the paint to keep this thing from rusting. I need to finish the hood cowl, but I'm gonna finish all that in there. The roof, I don't think I'm going to end up using the sunroof, so I'm not really worried about it. And if I decide to, I can just get something and clean it off real quick. It's just dusty, overspray. So, that's where we're at with that stuff. But I'm not sure where I'm going to be color-wise with the cage. I don't really know where I'm going to go. So, that's just a white primer slash paint mixture, but it's got to be sanded. There's some runs in it and stuff. I don't like it, so we'll probably sand a lot of that back down. But either way, I'm headed out for the night, and so the next part that comes up will probably be a different day, probably with the exhaust on the IS300. May get to listen to it, see what's up with this automatic IS300, and then we'll work on the red one and try to do some clutch stuff. So, all right, here we go. So, all right, we got the IS300. It's been another day since I've worked, but I actually worked, but I didn't film anything. So, I'm gonna open the doors. We'll get some light on this thing, and we'll look inside the interior. All right, here we go. Okay, so finally we can get back to it. I guess when you open the doors here, that's an invitation for any and everybody that drives by to pull in and hang out. So I keep the doors down, and the ends up being so dark in here. Yeah, literally the sun was shining and was bright as could be, and then I opened the doors, and then the floodgates opened and people started rolling in. All right, this thing's kind of dark. It's the all black interior. We can actually crank it up, I think, if it'll start. It's idling a little high, but that's the all black interior. Nasty seat stains. 217,000, whole bunch of check engine lights. So, and there's people stopping and alright, so today I kind of slapped a rig together and collected rent. So I was actually driving, I got thinking we hadn't heard the BMW in a while. So I figured we would do a little bit of noise on the BMW here as soon as traffic gets by here. The camera's going to be kind of shaky because I just kind of did a makeshift camera deal. So there we go. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera. This thing's actually got a bad clutch in it now. So that camera's like crazy shaky. I can see it now. My last rig that I had to like put it on windows or whatever, it was kind of, I think it ended up breaking. My son, I think, pulled it or something and broke it loose. But we're collecting rent. This is part of what I do. I don't have to drive as far as I do to pick up rent and stuff. I have a couple of rentals that are about an hour away from me. And so I do drive and pick those up. I don't necessarily have to do that, but I have three that are in the same area. One actually don't live in the area, but he's got a tire shop there, and so it makes it convenient. I just usually go and pick it all up, you know, on the same day in the same little area there, same town, but that town's an hour away from me. But it helps them, helps me, and plus it gets me out of the shop, gets me on the road a little bit, at least one day a month where I have to take a break. I've got it, kind of where I'm forced to walk out of the shop for a little while, So that's a good thing for me. So I figured while we was on the road, you can kind of get a glimpse into having to do that part of this rental ordeal. This clutch is bad in this car. It's horrible. Yeah, it's shot. So I don't want to say I hadn't had a chance to change it. I'm just dreading changing it. I've had that spec stage 3 plus and the Fidanza flywheel for, I would say, maybe 5 months. I have the new coil packs. I have spark plugs, the upgraded turbo inlets. I've got all that. Well, the radiator's leaking now, so I might be forced to work on this thing. And I was thinking about taking that automatic IS300, giving it a once over, and if it does okay, it seems like it's going to be somewhat roadworthy, then I may just daily it for a little while and take this thing apart and try to do all this at one time, So maybe that's an option. I don't know how long that job's going to take. I have to make sure I have all the material, and I may go ahead and do the PCV on the valve cover. I guess it's on the valve cover on these cars, so I may go ahead and do that while I'm at it. Probably be the best time, I would say. But I was going through some of the footage of my son drifting and all that. I got to thinking about it. Through this winter, we're gonna take that car apart and set it up for a turbo. We might try to see if we can't start trying to get some good tandems in somewhere, and if we can get him locked in, some good tandems, some good just some real good experience with the tandems and getting up to par, we may, by the time I get that S13 finished, we may try to see if we what the requirements are for a pro. Decided to pull over and change the battery. But so having the multiple rentals, yeah, the clutch is going in this thing. Having the multiple rentals and all the car stuff, sometimes it's a battle of wits against myself. I have to make sure I have enough to pay for the rentals, pay for the labor if we have to repair something, pay for the shop, pay all my insurance, taxes. We're coming up on land taxes right now. I have to make sure that everything is accounted for, and financially I'm in a position to do what I'm doing. So there's a lot of, like I say, a battle of wits amongst myself. I got to figure out, I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. When I do make money, I want to buy something cool, a cool car part or something, to enjoy what I work for. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself and be like, hey, I want to buy this, I want to buy a single turbo for my BMW or whatever, or just whatever that part is. I want to upgrade something or do this or that. and financially might put myself in a bind because I wanted something, so I have to make sure, or if something pop up and be like, hey, we've got a roof that's got a bunch of damage on it, we have to fix that, or we got a roof leak, you know. Had a renter move out in the middle of the night and they've trashed the place, you know, so I have to like play cat and mouse with all these different things that go on in the course of a month or over the next 6 months. Like we've been working on a rental for 5 or 6 months, and I've got thousands invested and it's still not done, you know. They destroyed the place. So I've been eating a payment on this, plus not only am I eating the payment, I'm not making any money on it, and it's actually costing me money to fix. And so we're working on, we've got like one more floor, and then we're gonna finish painting, and I think we're ready to put the floor covering down and just about ready to rent. So, but all the floor covering's gonna be thousands of dollars, you know, and the labor, the help doing it. And I keep saying I'll do some of it, but I end up not. I need to. I used to do this all by myself, like completely. There was no help. But once I got help, I kind of got burnt out on it, and I kind of stepped back and started using help exclusively. You know, I didn't do anything besides the car stuff and, you know, drift with my son. So, yeah, so, you know, dealing with all that and thinking about maybe transitioning into maybe a Pro-Am kind of car. I've really got to, you know, really get in a position where I've got to commit financially to do this, you know. So if, yeah, my son's gonna, I mean, he pays for his own parts. I put him on and work on the cars and stuff, but he pays for his own parts. Well, if we decide to go Pro-Am, you know, he's got all the stuff to turbo the IS300, just minus a few things. It's cheaper turbo, but then we still have to have a cage. We still have to have the cage put in. We still have to, you know, meet criteria to make sure that car is, you know, track worthy, or, you know, if we travel any, you know, expenses, tires, you know, all that. We've got to look at all that as a whole and make some decisions here, so I don't end up getting in a bind financially. So, not to say that I make a lot of money. I mean, I don't make that much money. It would surprise you how little I actually make. I just make it work, I guess. But yeah, I'm sitting here looking at the bigger picture, and I think if we decide to do that, I will have to liquidate a lot of the, you know, the extra cars and maybe even the turbo IS300 just to get all out from under my feet and just stay with the S13 and just do it, and it'd be the exclusive drift car, the only one that we have, besides, you know, obviously my son's going to keep his. But my contribution to him would be him being able to drive the S13. It's still going to be my car, you know. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. What I've been tossing around. Just, you know, I'm one of them where I talk through things. So I talk a ton, but it's sometimes me working through what I'm, you know. So as I talk through it, you know, I'm weeding out options. Maybe I might think of something, have something kind of pop up in my head, or as I'm explaining myself to you guys, you know, what I'm doing, what my ideals are, hearing it out loud and kind of thumbing through that information as it's in my head. Sometimes it, you know, it rolls itself out, or sounds better when I say it, or sounds worse when I say it. So when I make decisions on a lot of things, I do actually, you know, talk through it. I'll just kind of toss ideas, nothing set in stone, but just general ideas, you know, of what my options are. So, you know, like I say, selling cars that I don't have to be concerned about the turbo IS300 anymore. If it blows up, somebody else's problem, you know, send it down the road. You know, when I get it running, driving, tuned, yeah, it's going to be awesome, fun to drive. But then if it blew up again at some point, or had issues, then I'm fighting it. You know, if it does great, then fine, it's fun to drive. But if it doesn't, you know, then I'm having to either fix it, or it's going to sit there broken, one or the other. The 240, I think that'll be a great car. I think it'd be fun to drive that thing. But again, I can't drive everything at one time. And so if I just liquidate those, put all the money on the S13, you know, there's more of a quality build, a little higher end setup, you know, 1J caged car versus a, you know, a stock 2J and a 240, which should do pretty good. I think it would be a fun car. But would the S13 1J swapped boosted be a funner car, you know?
I'm feeling high.